Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Rice Public Radio. I'm not feeling extremely well, so sorry about the nasally voice. I'm really congested, so my apologies again. Today we're going to talk about the flavor of the month, Pete Buttigieg. So, Mayor Pete is he's running to be president in 2020. He's vying for the Democratic nomination, and lately he's been getting a lot of press coverage. I like to call him the flavor of the month because, firstly, everyone latched on to Kamala Harris when she first announced. Then when Beto announced, everyone jumped on his ship. And now it's Mayor Pete's turn. Let's take a look at him. So he does have a very impressive resume. He's mayor of his hometown. He is gay. He served in Afghanistan, so he's a veteran. He's obviously a very smart guy because he went to Harvard, and he's a Rhodes Scholar. So he's definitely very intelligent. And, the media likes to pounce up on his skills, and I think he speaks Norwegian and I think a couple other languages as well. So he's actually a pretty bad candidate, though. If you look past his impressive attributes, he's pretty bad. Here's this article by the Los Angeles Times that says, the headline is, Pete Buttigieg has everything except positions on major issues. Yeah, the writer's right. I'm going to read you a couple of sentences. At a CNN town hall last month, voters asked his views on healthcare, unemployment, veterans benefits, climate change, and whether technology companies like Facebook should be regulated. His answers were a blend of generic Democratic positions and suggestions that more venturesome ideas should be considered. On healthcare, Buttigieg says he believes the U.S. should move in the direction of a Medicare for all system, but only gradually, not the immediate change to a government-run system proposed by Bernie Sanders. I just want to state that the Bernie Sanders position, I believe his timeline proposed a 4-year implementation, but depending on if you're a young adult, if you're under 18, I believe you get those benefits in the first year. But generally it'll take like a 4-year implementation. So it's not going to be like an overnight thing where we're switching over right away. On taxes, he argues that Trump's tax cuts for higher income earners should be reversed. He also supports a wealth tax and financial transaction tax, but he hasn't offered specific proposals. Yeah, this is in contrast to Bernie Sanders, who has a very robust tax plan. It's outlined on his website. He's taxing Wall Street speculation to pay for tuition-free college. He's raising taxes in order so we can have Medicare for all, so we don't pay premiums and deductibles and out-of-pocket costs. To continue, like every Democratic candidate, he supports comprehensive immigration reform, but he hasn't offered proposals for stemming the surge of asylum seekers to the border, or explained how he'd get reform through Congress that has repeatedly rejected it. Again, this is in contrast to Bernie Sanders, who says we need to build the proper facilities to house these migrants, these asylum seekers coming from the southern border. And Bernie Sanders also articulated in his Fox News Bernie Sanders town hall that he would expand the number of immigration judges so they can process asylum seekers effectively and efficiently. On Facebook, he says the increasing power of big corporations is probably the biggest challenge for America right now. But he stops short of calling for those companies to be broken up, such as Senator Elizabeth Warren has proposed. It's not how big they are, it's how they act, he said. And that's the thing I think we need to be regulating. Okay, so there's a couple of other statements in here. Let's get to it. I highly disagree with this. This is not a very good proposal. And this is one of the few that he's actually stated. He's proposing to expand the Supreme Court from 9 justices to 15. That's not a very good idea because, firstly, that's really controversial. And secondly, if you want to pack the Supreme Court, the opposite party can do the same. That means if you're a Republican, if you got control of Congress and you're the president, you can put all your Supreme Court picks in there too. So they can do the same thing. And that would be bad. That'd be disastrous. What Bernie Sanders has proposed, I think is a great idea. He proposed perhaps having term limits on the Supreme Court picks or cycling them out to the appellate courts. So people will get a chance to, they might spend some time in the appellate courts, then they go on the Supreme Court for a little bit and they cycle out. So you don't have these justices that are just on the Supreme Court for dozens and dozens of years. So I like the Bernie Sanders proposal much better than Pete's. I want to play a clip from an interview he had that was deeply troubling. So let's take a listen.
See, I went all the way for you. I just say, what will you do for us?
Iowans want guarantees. They want to grill you on policy positions. I listened to you talk today.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you definitely speak very progressively, but you don't have like a lot of super specific policy ideas.
Yeah. Part of where the left and the center left have gone wrong is we've been so policy led that we haven't been as philosophical. We like to think of ourselves as the intellectual ones, but the truth is the right has done a better job in my lifetime of connecting up its philosophy and its values to its politics. Right now, I think we need to articulate the values, lay out our philosophical commitments, and then develop policies off of that. And I'm working very hard not to put the cart before the horse.
Is there time for that? They want the list. They want to know exactly what you're going to do.
I think it can actually be a little bit dishonest to think you have it all figured out on day one. Look, I think anybody in this race or conversation is going to be a hell of a lot more specific and policy oriented than, say, the current president. But I don't think we ought to have that all kind of locked in on day one.
So as you heard, he said that the problem with the left and the center left is that people from that side are too concerned about policies, and not enough about values and philosophy. This is absolutely absurd because why are you running for president in the first place? You want to propose policies that help individuals. You want to bring up policies that get Americans to like you. You want to make policies so people can get to know you, know who you are, they know what to expect from you, and they know whether to vote for you or not. This is a job interview, essentially. You have to give the people interviewing you, which is the American public, you have to tell us what you're offering. He says we don't need to figure it all out on day one. What the hell? If you only care about philosophy, then be a philosopher, be like a professor or like a writer or something. You're auditioning for the highest office in the land. You need to give concrete ideas and policies to the American people so we can judge who you are. He also mentions the right wing projects their values and what they stand for really well. But if you look at the 2016 election, look at what Donald Trump did. He consistently slammed the trade deals like TPP and NAFTA. He said that we shouldn't be in all these foreign wars. He stated that, we have to drain the swamp. We have to end the D.C. Washington corruption. He talked about protecting people's jobs and not offshoring them to other countries. And he also talked about building the wall. Now, of course, he either reneged on these policies or had bad ideas in general, but he kept talking about them on the campaign trail, and that's why people liked him. So I find that interview deeply troubling. And these slimy establishment politicians are vague on purpose. By speaking with really flowery language, once they get into office, they can just do whatever they want. They're not locked down to their own promises, to their own policies that they've proposed on the campaign trail. And Mayor Pete's just an establishment hack. Why? Because if you a couple of days ago, the New York Times released an article that said the Democrats were agonized over Bernie Sanders' popularity and they needed to stop him. This was in the New York Times. Mayor Pete was in secret meetings with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Neera Tanden. By the way, Neera Tanden's a complete scumbag. She's the director of the Center of American Progress. They're basically just like a neoliberal, hacky organization that just supports establishment candidates. But like I said, he's in these secret meetings of these establishment figures, so you know he's a freaking establishment plan. He's just a hack. So yeah, again, he's the flavor of the month. I think his support's going to fizzle out. Joe Biden's going to announce soon, so that's probably going to split the vote between, people who support Kamala, Beto, Pete, and all that. So, but this guy, on paper, on the news said, I was watching some news clip and said he's a walking college admissions essay. So, looks good on paper, but really, what does he believe? He might believe in something, but he has no policies to back it up, that value system that he has. And that's deeply troubling.